Gervonta Davis versus Rayo Valenzuela is heating up for November at the T-Mobile Arena in Vegas. Rumors are coming that they will make this fight at 140. Rayo Valenzuela addressed the rumors surrounding his fight with Gervonta "Tank" Davis. He showed a great desire for bigger fights and his willingness to land against any contender in the ring.
But what's next? Like, is there a unification? Did you want to fight Tank?
To be honest, I want to fight whoever the fans want me to fight. I've never been a guy who, ducked or dodged nobody since the beginning of my career. I took the toughest fights. And, so whoever the fans want me to fight, that's what I'm here for.
Valenzuela versus Tank will happen possibly in the 140-pound division. Recent victories and performances have put Valenzuela in a position where a matchup against Davis could change his fate of boxing. Now that both fighters have shown skills in their respective weight classes, a fight at 140 would not only test Valenzuela's skills against an elite opponent, but also offer Davis a chance to solidify his dominance in another weight class. Coach Kenny, who has been training Tank for a long time now, didn't deny the possibility of this fight happening.
I know you a student, you watch it, you study the boxing. What's your take on Rayo? Some people call it an upset against Pitbull. What's your take on him getting a 140? And do you think we could see a Rayo Tank at 140 for the WBA?
I'll take people. Tank to beat Rayo too, but I had him out boxing Pitbull. Yeah, it was 50-50. I had a 50-50.
Gervonta Davis and Rayo Valenzuela are two boxers with contrasting traits in boxing. Davis, with an impeccable record of 30-0, including 28 KOs, has established himself as a formidable force in multiple weight classes. He is known for his knockout power and speed in the ring. He captured titles in 3 different weight categories, becoming a prominent figure in contemporary boxing. On the other hand, Rayo Valenzuela, also known as Jose Valenzuela, has shown promise with a record that includes notable victories, though he has faced a couple of setbacks as well. His recent win over Isaac "Pitbull" Cruz for the WBA super lightweight title has put him in the spotlight, where he is now ready to take on higher caliber fights. Valenzuela's style is characterized by his jab, footwork, and ring generalship, which were particularly evident in his fight against Cruz. While Gervonta "Tank" Davis is gearing up for a fight with Rayo Valenzuela, there's been significant chatter about a potential matchup between Davis and Shakur Stevenson. Stevenson has been vocal about wanting to fight Davis, a clash that would feature 2 of the top talents in boxing. Both fighters are champions in their respective weight classes, with Davis holding the WBA title and Stevenson the WBC title. Kenny Ellis, the co-trainer for Gervonta Davis, expressed strong confidence in Davis's abilities compared to Shakur Stevenson. He articulated why he believes Davis would be the clear favorite in a potential matchup, emphasizing Davis's striking power as a significant advantage. Ellis highlighted the differences in their fighting styles and capabilities, particularly focusing on what happens when each fighter is under pressure in the ring. Ellis stated, "They can't be 50-50 if Tank can punch and Shakur can't punch. They both can box. They both got a great IQ. Let's say Tank is behind and he got to get himself out of trouble, and that hammer is going to get him out of trouble. Now let's say Shakur's behind and he got to get himself out of trouble. How is he going to get himself out of trouble? He doesn't have a hammer, so they're not 50-50. They can't be 50-50. This one thing is crystal clear: when there is Tank, no one else can stand against him in the ring. If Tank Davis gets the contender once, there is no going back." Where Kenny might be giving biased statements, Jeff Mayweather, who has no link with either Shakur or Tank. Kenny praised both fighters for their skills, but talked about Tank's unique capability to change the course of the fight with just one punch. Mayweather noted that the audience would be captivated every second, given the level of skill and intensity both fighters bring to the ring. Jeff said, "That's the fight where you're going to be sitting in your seat and you're going to be entertained every second of that fight, and no one knows how that fight's going to end." Shakur is a great boxer, but still, it only takes Tank one punch, right? And if Tank catches him, no matter how great he is, he'll probably go out too. Further elaborating on the dynamics between the fighters, Mayweather praised Tank's underestimated boxing intelligence, which is often overshadowed by his impressive knockout ratio. He emphasized that Tank's ability not only as a knockout artist, but also his tactical acumen makes him a formidable opponent in the ring. According to Mayweather, anyone facing Tank risks leaving the ring much differently than they entered, underscoring the potential severity of facing a puncher of Tank's caliber. He continued, "So that's the one thing with Tank. Tank is a one-punch knockout artist. His IQ is extremely high when people don't give him credit for it because of his knockout ratio. But the thing is that I just think that anyone that steps in the ring with him has the chance chance to not go out the same way they came in, and that's being flat on their back. Another one choosing Tank over Shakur is Najeem Johns, who shared his thoughts on the fight and expressed confidence in Davis's ability to win. Johns acknowledged Stevenson's skills, but voiced a strong belief that Davis, with his distinctive fighting style and track record, would ultimately prevail in such a matchup. Johns stated, "That's a good fight. I felt like, Tank is going to be Tank. I think Tank is going to come out victorious, and Shakur is a great fighter himself, but I just don't see him beating Tank." When asked about what his thoughts are about which shot can take on Shakur or the fight, Najeem Johns started elaborating on Davis's boxing skills, emphasizing his dual capability as both a boxer and a powerful puncher. He suggested that many people underestimate Davis's ability to strategically box because his fights often highlight his knockout power. Johns speculated that a skilled opponent like Shakur Stevenson could be the catalyst needed to showcase more of Davis's boxing.
Yeah, I feel like Tank, people they don't know that Tank can box if he want to, but I feel like nobody brought that out of him, and I feel like as each fight get on, somebody's going to beat. Like a Shakur Stevenson might bring that out of him. Like, he's a boxer, but he's a puncher. Any shot that he can land on Shakur can put Shakur out. So it could be an early night, but I know I'm waiting for that fight. I can't wait. I hope it is true. I want to see that fight.
Yeah, that's a good fight.
The rivalry between Tank and Shakur has stirred the whole boxing community. Significant exchanges of verbal jabs and palpable tension suggest that the potential showdown could be both electrifying and highly competitive. Gervonta Davis, known for his knockout power, has openly critiqued Stevenson's lack of similar striking strength, suggesting that despite Stevenson's skill, he might not withstand Davis's powerful hits. This was emphasized by Davis in an interview where he doubted Stevenson's power across different weight classes, underscoring his own confidence in his knockout capability.
Some of your 135 contemporaries have a lot to say these days. Shakur Stevenson, well, of course he's now 135 after all that stuff, and then Devin Haney.
Right, so why people even talk like he the best at, he didn't even fight at 135 yet.
Right.
He didn't even have power at 126, 30 or none of that.
He is good.
Okay. How can you, all that's just okay. How can you stop people that can actually hit? No matter all that boxing, you're going to get hit. What you gonna do when you get hit?
Tank, being the favorite among the boxing community, has been reluctant to talk back to Shakur more often because at his level, he is more focused on his coming bouts and career, where he can make more money and legacy. Oscar De La Hoya expressed high regard for Davis and highlighted how Tank is a literal beast in the ring. De La Hoya praised Tank's ability to figure you out because of his great IQ during fights. He admired Tank's willingness to engage fully in his bouts, acknowledging that fighting aggressively means taking risks, including the possibility of getting knocked out. According to De La Hoya, it's this fearless approach that makes Tank a beloved figure in boxing and cements his status as a star in the sport. De La Hoya said, "Tank is very skillful. He's a beast. He knows how to figure you out. But one thing about Tank, which I love, and this is why he's going to be great, is that he fights. And when you fight, you're going to get hit, and you might get knocked out. But that's the beauty about Tank, that he fights, and that's why they love him. That's a perfect example. Tank Davis is a star." But the one who has seen both sparring in the ring very closely always gives the best of the predictions. Greg Hackett offered a comparison between Shakur Stevenson and Gervonta Davis. He talked about their contrasting styles in the ring. Hackett described Stevenson as the superior chess master and praised his strategic thinking and ability to outmaneuver opponents mentally. In contrast, Davis was characterized as the more instinctual fighter, likened to an animal in terms of his natural reactions and physical attributes. Hackett emphasized Davis's remarkable blend of speed, power, and agility, coupled with an instinctive ability to counter and deceive opponents effectively. He explained, "Shakur is the better chess master, the better thinker. Tank is the better animal. I think more Tank, more like naturally. His reaction time, his countering, his ability, agility, speed, and power, all mixed together. He's more of an animal. According to Moore, show you this, but then show you that, and then you thought you saw that, but then no, it was this. He's like the three-card Molly guy, like which hand is it in there?" This fight has been in talks for years now, but it never got confirmed, despite the utmost interest and attention from the public too. Brian Bomac McIntyre, a respected boxing trainer, discussed the potential matchup between Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis. McIntyre praised Stevenson's abilities, acknowledging that he could beat anyone if he set his mind to it. However, he noted that facing Tank Davis would present significant challenges for Stevenson. McIntyre emphasized that despite Stevenson's high ring IQ, he might struggle against Davis. He stressed the importance of this fight for the boxing industry, describing it as essential for reviving interest in the sport sport and meeting public demand.
Yeah, that's gonna be a little trouble for him. You know what I'm saying? But you know, Shakur is one of those fighters that love challenges, and he'll do everything he needs to do to get that win.
There's a lot of fighters and trainers who feel like that's who it's going to come down to, Tank and Shakur.
Yeah, I think so too.
Why is that?
I think they're the best in the division. And I hope that fight gets made. It'd be good for boxing. Everybody say boxing is dying. Yeah, boxing is dying. Get that fight made, y'all. Public demand for that fight. Demand for that fight in a couple years.
Meanwhile, when the fight between Shakur and Tank Davis has not materialized, Shakur Stevenson is now set to face Joe Cordina on October 12th. Joe Cordina, known for his skill and tenacity in the ring, will provide a different kind of test for Stevenson. Cordina, who holds a record of 17 wins, 1 loss, and 9 knockouts, plans to move up to the 135-pound division for this fight. This matchup is slated to occur as part of the undercard for the Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol event. The undercard for the Artur Beterbiev versus Dmitry Bivol fight on October 12th in Riyadh includes several notable matchups. Shakur Stevenson will defend his WBC lightweight title against Joe Cordina. The event also features Chris Eubank Jr. versus Kamil Ceremeta in a middleweight bout, and Fabio Wardley defending his British heavyweight title against Fraser Clark. Additionally, Jai Opetaia will defend his IBF cruiserweight title against Jack Massey, and Sky Nicholson will face Raven Chapman for the WBC women's featherweight title. However, Joe Cordina shared his readiness and excitement about the possibility of fighting Shakur Stevenson. He highlighted his flexibility and determination in pursuing significant challenges within the boxing arena. Cordina emphasized that he was willing to meet Stevenson at any weight class because he always wanted to compete against top fighters, as it is the only way to come to the top of the game. He expressed, "I was happy to jump in with him. He had his mandatory and then he couldn't make the weight, and then he moved up. Not long after, he did an interview and was happy to do a catch weight at 133, but you don't have to catch weight. I'll come to 135. It makes no difference to me." Further emphasizing his eagerness and respect for Stevenson, Cordina expressed not only his readiness to challenge himself against top-tier opponents, but also his recognition of Stevenson's stature in the sport.
But listen, I'd love to fight him in the future. He's gonna go down as an all-time great, and if you want to be great yourself, you have to fucking mix with these type of fighters and be involved in fights like that. So for me, I'd love to fight Shakur Stevenson, and that's not even on a disrespectful thing. I want to test myself in with the best, and he's one of the best fighters on the planet.
Joe Cordina, in a recent podcast, discussed his ongoing efforts to secure a fight with Shakur Stevenson, emphasizing his commitment and readiness to step up in weight for the match. Cordina expressed his frustration over the fight not materializing despite his willingness to adjust to a higher weight class over the past 2 years. He remains enthusiastic and determined, stating that if the opportunity arises, he will enter the ring with full energy and determination.
If that fight's there, then it's there. Obviously, I've made it known before that I won that fight. He mentioned it when he was at super featherweight, and then he said at a catch weight as well. So, but if I come up to lightweight, there's no need for a catch weight. We can make a fight happen. But
Eddie Hearn spoke highly of the potential unification fight involving Shakur Stevenson, particularly highlighting Joe Cordina as a formidable opponent. Hearn stated, "The unification. Shakur Stevenson. You know, I don't see a fighter in the world right now with a better chance of beating Stevenson than Joe Cordina, and we'll see what happens." Now that, apparently it looks like Shakur has ducked Tank Davis once again. Showbiz. The adult expressed concern over Shakur Stevenson's recent decisions in his boxing career, particularly after rumors emerged that Stevenson might be avoiding a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis. These rumors got social media's attention, and he has been called a pro-duck, especially after Eddie Hearn, whom Shakur recently signed with, following the end of his contract with Top Rank, apparently indicated that a fight between Tank and Shakur is not on the cards. But at the same time, Showbiz the adult reflected disappointment and skepticism about Shakur's choices, suggesting that these moves could be seen as Shakur ducking a significant challenge.
I'm going to talk pro it being a duck for all of you guys who see it as a duck. Like I said this morning, I don't think Shakur Stevenson just signed a one-fight deal with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn, he doesn't work like that. It's probably a 2-3 fight deal. And Eddie Hearn said himself that if you sign with me and doing business with me as your promoter, I'm going to be looking at fights, and one of them isn't Gervonta Tank Davis. So it makes you feel, okay, in hindsight, with you already knowing this, if you go that route, that's working away from Gervonta Tank Davis. Understandable, okay? So I understand that argument.
Showbiz. The adult expressed his stance about Shakur Stevenson's recent performances, suggesting they haven't been particularly impressive for the opponent and for the fans, too. He pointed out that if Shakur were to face Gervonta Davis, the expectation would be for Tank to dominate. Showbiz emphasized that Shakur needs to engage in more exciting, decisive fights to regain his standing, and suggested that Joe Cordina, who fights at a lower weight class and isn't known for his punching power, could be an ideal opponent for Shakur to showcase a knockout and revitalize his image among boxing fans.
Right now, let's keep it real. It would be all Gervonta. It would be all Gervonta. Shakur Stevenson has kind of stunk it up, all right, his last 2 outings, okay? At least that's public perception. And taking on Tank, most people will be like, Tank, hurry up and get this dude out of here, all right? I hope it's not a boring fight. So he has to recover. Like his brand needs some first aid. So he needs to go on a tour, a knockout tour. Joe Cordina is the perfect guy to be the first one. He's a small guy. His last fight, he fights at 130, all right? So he'll be moving up. He doesn't swat. I think he got like 50% knockout ratio, something like that. Fact check me, please. He's not known as a puncher, all right? And that's even for the lower weight classes. So he's not going to bring any harm to Shakur, but what Shakur has to do is blow him out the water, walk him down, knock him out, beat him up. He has to get a knockout back under his belt, all right? And that's going to be for him. That's going to be for the people visually seeing this.
Where Showbiz the adult blamed for Shakur moving out of weight class without fighting Tank, Aide Oladipo, a sports commentator and lead presenter for DAZN, expressed his perplexity regarding why Tank has not yet fought Shakur Stevenson, especially now that making the fight should be easier with Stevenson as a free agent. Oladipo highlighted that Stevenson is reportedly close to signing with Matchroom, which currently leaves him unattached and seemingly ready to negotiate. He pointed out that the only apparent hurdle to this highly anticipated match is on Davis's side.
Absolutely nothing. There was a lot of talk, even though not a unification fight, would have been a good fight between Shakur and Zepeda. Nothing. I think Zepeda's going to go the Berincic route.
Oladipo further argued that if Davis truly wanted the fight to happen, it could be arranged swiftly through his connections, such as calling up his promoter, Al Heyman. He emphasized that Stevenson is more than willing to take the fight, even if it means accepting a lower purse, reflecting Stevenson's eagerness to compete against the top fighters at 135 pounds. Oladipo's comments suggested that the ball is in Davis's court to make this significant fight a reality.
If Gervonta phones up Al Heyman and says, look, make the fight, that fight happens next. The only reason we're not seeing that super fight is because of Tank. Because Shakur would take that in a heartbeat. Shakur, say what you want about Shakur Stevenson. Shakur would fight any of the top guys at 135 pounds right now. Yes, there's a money factor in there. You gotta get paid. But he would fight them all right now. Like right now, legit, right now.
Aide Oladipo expressed concern about the stagnation in the 135-pound division, particularly highlighting the absence of key matchups among title holders. He pointed out that despite various champions in the division, including names like Berincic and Gavon, no unification fights are taking place. Oladipo remarked on the lost opportunity for Shakur Stevenson, who was rumored to be in discussions for a significant fight that has yet to materialize. He stated, Joe's opportunity goes to show just how up the 135-pound division is, where none of the champions are fighting each other. There are no unification fights. There was a lot of talk about Shakur Stevenson potentially getting a Zappa fight. I don't know what's happened with that, but none of the champions are fighting each other. Further, Oladipo criticized the organizational and promotional challenges within the division, which he believes are hindering the creation of meaningful fights. His frustration was triggered by the inefficiencies in matchmaking that prevent fans from seeing the most competitive and intriguing battles. He continued, Berincic's a champion, L's a champion, Gavon is a champion, Shakur is a champion. Now, if there were unification fights, I wouldn't mind, but that isn't happening. And even with the power of Turkey, the fact that they can't make unification fights in that division is a joke. Where Oladipo criticized the 135 weight division and not giving any unification fight to the boxing world, despite having big names in it, Joe Cordina thinks highly of his weight class fellows. Joe Cordina evaluated the top contenders in the 135-pound division, emphasizing the unique challenge challenges and opportunities each fighter presents. He categorized Vasyl Lomachenko as the most challenging due to his skills, Gervonta Davis as the most lucrative for the financial potential of such a fight, and Shakur Stevenson as the most technical, appreciating the skill level Stevenson brings to the ring.
The most difficult is Loma and Gervonta. No, the most difficult is Loma. The most money is Gervonta. And then you got Shakur, will be the most technical. Obviously, they're all great in their own rights, you understand. But if I had to choose one, just because of either he was at super feather also, and after I won a world title and he called me out, would be Shakur. Like, I respect him.
Cordina also shared his personal respect and admiration for Shakur Stevenson, highlighting his desire to face him in the ring. He saw a fight with Stevenson not just as a competition, but as a crucial step in proving himself against the best, which he believed was essential in achieving greatness in boxing. Cordina's approach reflected a blend of professional ambition and the spirit of a true boxing enthusiast who values the art and challenge of the sport. He continued, "I respect him. I think he's a great fighter. I am a fan. You understand. I'm a boxing fan before anything. And I do respect him. But I love that fight because, you only become great when you beat great fighters. And to be the best, you have to beat the best. And for me, he's in the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters on the planet." If you're keen on keeping up with the latest in boxing and enjoy in-depth discussions like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like.